Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be our first mid-tier ALEO ASIC. This is going to be from GoldShell. It's the next in line of their Echo series. I'm going to talk about the E-AE1M. It's a 2000 water, so it's kind of a heftier unit, so it is a little bit exciting because of that, but we'll look at the specs. We do have prices. We'll compare it to the others and we'll see how it stacks up. So if that sounds good guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So this guy was announced today, although not officially up for sale on their website, doing something kind of similar to those bigger boy Doge ASICs they announced, which were kind of released, but not like full releases. So some of the resellers do have them up on the website, so they are kind of making a batch of these things, but we'll talk about it. Let's look at the specs. So right off the rip, it is 230 mega hash at 2000 watts, so fitting in line with this Echo series, which is kind of like an in-betweener, right? Realistically, again, I think the sweet spot would be more like that 1200 watt threshold, so that way the price point could be lower. It's still able to be residential, even like 120 volt, although it's going to take up a big chunk of the circuit, but that would be more ideal, although most likely this guy will have a low power mode to kind of suffice that need, but again, the idea would be to have just a lower price point period. But it is an interesting form factor, so realistically, again, my best use case for it would be kind of to fill out a 30 amp circuit, right? A lot of us residential guys typically have 30 amp circuits, so this would kind of fill that void to kind of complete that circuit. The reason I'm saying that is most of the big boy ASICs are between like 3,000, 3,500 watts or so. This guy being at 2,000 watts, you would pretty much be able to max out that circuit now, right? So kind of to each their own. It's kind of an in-betweener. Pros and cons to each, but let's compare it to everything else. So again, it's not fully available on their website. They do have a little comparison thing. Again, they're just kind of reiterating these stats. They don't have like the low hash rate mode, which in reality wouldn't be appealing. Realistically, if you're getting this thing, it's to kind of get as much as you can, as quickly as you can, because of how inefficient it is. Even in low power mode, it's just going to be so out of spec with the competition that it's just not going to make sense to do that, right? So we'll compare so you can kind of see what we're talking about here in a second. They gave us the basic overall dimensions, which again, it's going to be the same as the other in the Echo series. It is a quiet guy, yada, yada, yada. Again, it's not officially listed on their website. Some of the resellers do have it on there. It is actually on Mining Now already. And this is what's going to get people's attention, is that profitability, right? Especially in times like right now where profitability is crap on mining all around. This is definitely going to be a standout for people who are unfamiliar, right? So as we look at it, we compare it. Current profitability at a 10-cent kilowatt hour, 18 bucks a day, which considering ALEO's price point, considering the sentiment, is not bad until we kind of compare with the competition, and that's where things kind of change a little bit, right? So right here, we're able to see the competition, which in reality seems like it's more like themselves more than anything, right? You can see here the whole list is essentially the Ice River AE0 and then just all of their little boxes that they've been like shotgunning out essentially. The standout for me would be the efficiency. So it is more efficient than all the other box miners. That is kind of interesting. It's at 8.7 joules per mega hash. The other one with the best efficiency would be the original AE box at 9.73. So how they're gaining that efficiency, is it more efficient chips? Probably not, because again, it's only a 10% increase in efficiency here. My guess it's probably just maybe it is more chips clocked lower, so it's more efficient. That could be it. We don't really know, but to me, the bigger standout is just it's still so inefficient in comparison to the Ice River unit, right? Still, even at 8.7 being the best out of the other units, it's still a drastic difference from 2 joules per mega hash, right? So with these smaller guys, yes, it's significant-ish, but it gets more dramatic as you scale up, right? And that to me is kind of, in reality, the big standout, right? So even just like eyeballing it here, yes, the AE1M is 230 mega hash. Let's round up and do 5 of the AE0s. It would get you more mega hash, right? It'd be 250 mega hash at only 500 watts versus the 2,000 watts of that guy. Okay, that's where it kind of doesn't make sense. Again, for me, like we've mentioned before, efficiency is longevity, and for me with ASICs, profitably mining for the longer period of time is the game plan. that is where you have the advantage, and that's what you want to get, right? For me, it's not very appealing at all to get something that is potentially only profitable for a few months. Like, yes, those few months may be super profitable, but then that's kind of it, right? Like, to me, it's kind of a weird goal to just break even in 3 months and then potentially not be able to mine beyond that, right? That to me is not appealing. But if you're able to have a quick ROI and still, even if it's a smaller scale, be able to at least continue to mine, then that's more beneficial. Like, for example, with the AE0, we know that they are most likely going to release bigger units, but because it's as efficient as the bigger, more efficient units, it's still going to be profitable. It's still going to be there as long as the other bigger units are profitable, because it's just going to be a scaled down version of it. The difference being, if shit kind of still hits the fan, doesn't do too well, and the hash rate does go up, this guy as well as the boxes will become unprofitable fairly quick, right? So just depending, again, there's a lot of factors there too, though. It just depends on how much the hash rate goes up. So yes, this bigger unit is going to come out. Yes, the Ice River A0 is going to come out. But we don't know to what extent people are going to be buying these things, right? Right now, the sentiment is all-time low. Pricing is on the highest side considering the market. Who knows how high the hash rate goes? And this is kind of the risk you're taking. This is why this is such an extreme risk in a sense, because it's just purely going to be up to that. How many units are manufactured and how many of these units sell, right? So this is the thing, is that who's to say that come next month, the market's still struggling and everything gets cut down in half. The IA0 goes down to under $1,000. Things change dramatically, right? So just different things to consider there, but just fully understand that this price point, as far as profitability and fiat, may change drastically. It could get worse, or it also could get better. Remember, ALEO has gone down a lot. It's not going to take a lot for that profitability to jump, but what I would focus on here is the yield. The yield is going to be over everything, because again, this thing can change drastically tomorrow, right? ALEO can go down another 50%. This can look worse, or it can pump 200-300% and look drastically different, right? But at the end of the day, the yield is what you want to focus on. Okay. So let's look at price points of this guy. So again, realistically, just comparing it to the other box miners, for example, it's a little bit more than 4. So we can call it even 5. So we can fully expect the price to be potentially 5x higher, 4.5x higher. Let's look at the price point. Currently, Nhash does have it listed. It's at $5,600. Okay, so if we compare it to, because realistically, this late in the game, I probably wouldn't get any of the boxes, right? The advantage there was to get that first mover advantage, get that initial box, try to beat the hash rate at this point, this late in the game, especially with the A0 coming out here, shipping in the next few weeks. Kind of want to get something better, right? So at this point, I would compare it more to the AE0 versus the boxes. So again, you would need about 5 of the AE0s to get the equivalent hash rate. It's going to be a little bit more than the AE1M. At that point, 4 of those guys alone would be like $7,200. Okay, so you can kind of see that there is a savings factor. For me, that's not big enough though, considering the massive difference in efficiency. Again, it's one thing if it's like 20-30%, but a 4 to 5x difference in efficiency is massive. Okay, so pretty big risk. May pan out, may not. But let's look a little bit more detailed as to why I still think it's probably not a great idea. Okay. So again, the biggest factors to consider are what? The hash rate. Okay, so before we even make really big predictions there, to me, an easy way to see if this thing is worth it, look at ALEO's current price, look at the yield, see what you get for the equivalent of just buying the unit, buying the coins outright, right now in this moment. And this is where any hardware in general is a hard sell right now, because so many coins are at extremely good prices. Some cases lows, some cases bear market lows right now. Okay, so because of that, it is much more tempting to just buy the coin, because in many cases it's going to make more sense. It's going to be drastically different potentially 4 to 6 months from now. If things tend to pick up, then it's going to obviously be super different, right? But right now in this time, that's what we got to go by. Okay, because again, we're not predicating things on that. Hopefully that's part of the appeal for it, right? If the appeal is there, is that obviously we may get price appreciation with ALEO, which arguably has a lot of room to go up. But again, let's just break it down simply. If this unit is going to be $5,600, how much ALEO can we buy for the $5,600? How long would it take us for us to recoup that amount of ALEO? Not the fiat value, but the amount of yield. Again, if ALEO were to 3x tomorrow, of course the fiat profit is going to be different, but it's the yield you want to focus on because, again, long-term wise, that's what's going to make the most sense. Okay, and that's not what's going to fluctuate like crazy like the price point. Again, ALEO can go down 50% tomorrow or it can go up 300x tomorrow, and it's going to change the fiat profitability different, but not necessarily the yield. Okay. So again, for $5,600, you can get about 38,000 ALEO currently right now. Okay, so if we were to take that amount of ALEO, and by looking at this calculator, this is why I love to see the yield per day because it makes this calculation super easy. It's about 153 ALEO per day, right? So that at that point, if we take our 38,000 ALEO that we can currently buy for the $5,600, we divide it by how much yield we would get currently with it, right, which is about 154, it would take us 246 days to mine that equivalent instead of just buying it. Okay, this is to me where it's not necessarily going to make sense because even looking at this number, it's not realistic. Okay, because this is factoring in no changes in the hash rate, which this network being so immature, it's not going to take many units to have a drastic effect on it. Okay, we know that the A0 is coming out. We also know that this guy's coming out. Okay, what effects it's going to have on it, we don't know how many people are going to buy this thing. We don't know how many they're going to manufacture. Those things are going to cause it to skyrocket. And obviously, when the bigger units come out, it's going to be massive. But right now, with this current sentiment, chances are they're not going to make that many. But if this is our best case scenario that's going to take you 246 days to recover that, for me, that's not very appealing, right? In terms of fiat, again, this can change drastically if ALEO goes up, and this can be within like 60, 90 days or something if ALEO were to like 2-3x from here, which again, considering its price point, isn't out of the question because it's gone down so freaking much. Even just in the past month or the past like 3 months, and this is all alts, it's not specific to ALEO, but ALEO realistically has been extremely hard hit and one of the worst performers, period. Right? Going from freaking $6 down to 14 cents. Horrendous performance. Okay? But at the same time, it's only a 53 million market cap, has a lot of things going for it. This is, to me, one of those points where it's just, to me, it's going to have more upside than downside. Right? But at the end of the day, for me, the way I value the ASICs to see if it's worth getting is the yield. It's the total amount of coins. Okay? And if our dream scenario, our perfect scenario, that nobody else buys an ALEO ASIC, I'm the only one with this thing, is that it's going to take me 246 days to mine that equivalent. Not very appealing, right? And especially because of the inefficiency of this unit. It's one thing if it's something that's efficient, like the A0, which again is a scaled out version of what's potentially going to be the more efficient unit. You will have longevity there. Will it be super profitable in like 3 to 6 months when the big boy ASICs come out? No, it's going to be a fraction of that, at least in terms of yield. The fiat profitability, though, can actually still be decent, though, if ALEO does appreciate quite a bit. Like, it's down to 14 cents. This thing was at $6. It's not unfathomable to say this thing goes to like $1.50, right? Especially it being a $53 million market cap, and considering who's backing this thing, which Coinbase Ventures is one of the big backers who does run validators for them and such. These are kind of things to factor in. But again, a lot of risk at this time. For me, it doesn't make sense to take that much risk. If things are hot, like things are kind of out of way, BTC's at 160, Caspa's at 50 cents, ETH is at 5K, I'm going to be more prevalent to potentially take a risk. But right now, with prices where they're at, I'm way more tempted to, number one, just buy ALEO outright. Number two, buy anything up here at these freaking prices that are so much lower than what they were just 3-4 months ago, right? And this is why just any hardware in general right now is a tough sell. Gonna be different though when everything's up and then it's not very appealing to buy the coins. Then you're gonna want to be a little more degen and take a little risk and potentially get one of these things. Not necessarily this thing, but an ASIC miner in general. But it's just right now, bro, prices are so low on damn near anything, not even just crypto, like anything. It is a tough time, right, to take that kind of risk for me, right? So for me, I'd have zero appeal in this unit. Again, nothing necessarily against GoldShell. You guys already know my feelings of them because of some of their practices. But just looking at the numbers, again, I try to focus on staying on the numbers. Yes, they do a lot of stupid things. Like even with this one, the marketing was them. I'm not even going to get into it. We're going to focus on the numbers. Just looking at the numbers, it just doesn't make sense, right? It's extremely inefficient. Price is a little bit too high, although arguably because of the profitability, this is what's going to be the appeal with newbies. They're going to see the profitability. They're going to look at it like, oh, it makes more than a freaking L9 or whatever, and it's $5,600. But just take those things into account. Take into account the hash rate difficulty potentially skyrocketing. Maybe, maybe not. ALEO potentially bleeding more. Maybe, maybe not. Right? So it's risk to reward for $5,600 though, for a unit that you know is going to be outdated as soon as when the bigger units come out. Not very appealing. Like if there was a mid-tier unit that had the efficiency of like the Ice River unit, that would get me to maybe gamble a little more, maybe consider it for a millisecond longer, only because it's still going to have that efficiency of the more efficient units and therefore can still potentially be profitable for quite a bit longer. But from what we've seen with a lot of these things is that the inefficiency kills you. Okay, when things are popping and things are looking good, we're good. Like for example with GoldShell, I was going to pull up the ALEO one, but that's not even a fair comparison because how much it's tanked. The thing's losing like a bunch. But even the DG1M, which at the time when it came out, it was fairly profitable. Not very efficient though. But at the time, again, when things are popping, it looks good. But like right now, currently it's at a loss. It's at an 85-cent loss versus some of the others that are not because they're more efficient. Right? So again, for me, I like the efficiency factor because again, I like longevity. If I'm going to, especially if I'm going to buy $5,000-$6,000 worth into an ASIC. It's $500 or under $1,000 for one of these little home things. If it makes sense, it can make sense to roll the dice. Like to me, that's the fair price, or a fairer price, I guess I should say, for any of these things, right? Whether it's an Ice River unit, an ALEO unit, these little GoldShell boxes. To me, that $9.99 price point, like under $1,000, it kind of makes more sense. And realistically, it makes more sense also for the manufacturer because at that price point, people are going to be more willing to take it. Even knowing the risk, at that point, you wouldn't feel as bad. But when these things come out at like $2,500, $3,000 for a little unit that you know is going to be a tiny fraction of what the bigger unit's going to be, and you know it's probably not going to be profitable in a few months, it's not very appealing, right? So that's why $5,600, it's a hard sell. Right? At least that's the way I view it. That's how I value my ASICs. I like to look at the yield, and that's what I focus on the most. That's at least for what I value. Some people don't. Some people do not care because they're looking for cash flow. Again, it's up to you to determine that benefit with it, how you view it, and how you value it. Right? Everybody's going to have different insights. It's kind of the beauty of looking at different people's perspectives and their strategies with things. Okay? But so overall, just for me, kind of a nothing burger. I wouldn't pay $5,600 for it. To me, it's too inefficient. If it was more efficient, like closer to the Ice River, like even remotely closer, it'd be better. But it's just so far off that it's like, again, something that's 400 to 500 watts if you get 4 or 5 of the A0s versus 2,000 watts. That's a massive difference, bros. But let me know in the comments though, guys. What do you guys think? Is it something you'd consider, or would you consider any ALEO ASICs? I know some of you guys are like super against it, and I don't blame you, man. With this freaking price action, it's it's a rough sell. But let me know in the comments though, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I am out.